Welcome back to the BetCanada channel. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. Patriots Steelers, 1 o'clock Sunday in Foxborough. Two teams coming into this game, both with 1-1 records. Steelers having lost, of course, at home week one. Patriots get that first dub of the season for themselves down in Miami in week two. We are here, Patriots and SI writer Mike Debate. Mike and I have a long relationship going back. Mike, obviously, some newness, with the Patriots here. Without, question, a guy who kind of just moonlighted around in Cleveland last year. Everyone kind of had the feeling what was going to happen. Initial thoughts here as this Patriots franchise hopes to go on yet another long, successful run with a head coach as Mike Vrabel is now the man.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, Jeff, the New England Patriots vigor has been resurrected in a lot of ways this season with Mike Vrabel at the helm. There's a sense of promise and there's a sense of accomplishment still to come. And I think a lot of that is because of the way Mike coaches. He's got a very deliberate, very matter of fact manner to him. He's been very hands on with the team, right in there. You can see all throughout training camp and even during joint practices, he'll get right in there and is not afraid to mix it up in a skirmish. But bottom line, I think the Patriots see an opportunity here for them to put the right personnel with the right type of coaching style for them to be able to move forward. Not only did Mike, bring his own style to especially this defense that you're seeing in New England, but also rehiring Josh McDaniels to coordinate the offense. Very smart move in terms of knowing the right guy to bring Drake May to that next level. So there's a lot of promise in New England right now, and it really stems from the coaches booth. But the players are buying into it little by little each and every day. You can see that, and when you have the coaches and you have the players on the same page, good things can happen. That hasn't happened in the last few years here in New England.
No, it definitely went, kind of dark for New England. You certainly see, that Vrabel certainly back into it, excited. Surprised he didn't pop a hamstring trying to run down the sideline with Antonio Gibson on Sunday. But and one of the things, and look, you can be a hard ass, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, you've always gotta let your players know that that's just not 100% who you are, and,
Right.
there is Mike Vrabel sitting outside the locker room when the game ends, obviously, everybody's excited, and making sure that, every guy that walks into that locker room gets a lot of love. "Hey, we're gonna enjoy this, I might be chewing you out again on Wednesday, but, we're gonna enjoy this for the time being." Work effort turns into, certainly victory. And, it's just the way, Mike is kind of wired and kind of what happens when you probably spent the majority of your career, of course, playing for Bill Belichick. Now, Drake May, of course, there were signs last year, and you really saw that, this wasn't Mac Jones 2.0. You saw that this is now the guy. This is going to be the guy. He will be there most likely through a second contract. You don't see any reason that this is not going to be a long term relationship. But however, there's been a lot of moving the furniture of what was here, maybe even not even for 2 years, maybe even only for 1 year
Mhm.
for what this Patriots team has done. And, look, I mean, like Will Smith, a lot of people got thrown out the front door and got thrown out quickly.
Yeah, without any question. You look at the team captains from last year. Only Hunter Henry is a holdover from the team captains from one year to the next. Guys that have been captains here before in New England have either been demoted or they're on to bigger and better, or at least other. I guess is the best way to put it. But Mike knew the personnel that he wanted to run here in offense, on defense, and especially in special teams. And I think what he did is he targeted the guys that he knew he could rely on, players he's worked with before, obviously coaches he's worked with before, but mostly with the player personnel. You've got guys in here that are willing to work and willing to put the time in, not only to learn the type of offense and defense that the Patriots are preaching, but may have had previous experience doing that before. A guy like Robert Spillane comes in, played for Mike, knows his style, someone that Josh McDaniels knows well from his time in Las Vegas. He's been a mainstay in that defensive unit all throughout training camp and preseason. Couple of rough games to start off his tenure here, but I expect him to kind of get going and be the focal point of that defense moving forward. Milton Williams come up with a huge, late game sack last week on Tua Tagovailoa. These are the types of guys that come in with an aggressive style and a buy-in to the coach's style, and it's meant so much of the difference here in New England as opposed to what we've seen the last couple of years. So big time upgrades for the Patriots, both in the personnel department and in the coaching staff, and you're starting to see the seedlings of that on the field.
Now, 2 wide receivers drafted in the 2024 NFL draft, which you thought would have been like, the complement and, "Hey, this might be the future here." I gotta admit, I almost had forgotten that guys on IR could get traded. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people in the league, everybody kinda got reminded that that was still possibly a thing. But both receivers drafted in 2024 no longer with the team. You bring in a Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, and I'll admit, Browns wise, I was a guy that was kind of marking that name on that Patriots roster, knowing that they were deep at the wide receiver position and going, well, this might be the guy that could end up maybe getting moved out of here. But eventually, I guess Rabel and company felt that, there were 2 guys that had only been here for a brief bit, but just weren't close enough to being part of this. The weaponry and, what is there for Drake May, certainly you're always gonna work with it, you're always gonna tinker with it, but, is Drake May set up for this second year jump that hopefully all of Pat's Nation is anticipating?
Yeah, I think he's set up with the weapons around him that he needs, Jeff, in order to be able to succeed and move forward. Look, Stephon Diggs is no longer an all pro, but he's still capable of being a number one receiver on any given day because of his matchup issues, the issues that he causes with his, defenders. That is, this guy can definitely cause some mismatches, and you're seeing it in dribs and drabs. I think you're going to see it more as Stephon works his way back into being in game shape. A lot of people forget that he's less than 1 year removed from an ACL tear, which normally knocks people out for more than a year. For the fact that he's back on the field and ready to go and looks as good as he does is really remarkable, and that's a testament to the work that Stefan put in over the offseason. You mentioned Kayshawn Booty. Kayshawn came into camp with a purpose. He came into camp with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, saying, "Hey, I'm the forgotten man here." Everybody's talking about Stephon Diggs. They're talking about Demario Douglas. They're talking about Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. I'm a former first round type graded talent. I'm going to show them on the field what I can do. And he came in, bought into that, smart attitude, and he's been a very good receiver for the Patriots, especially in week one, receiving over 100 yards. So, yeah, I think there are elements here that allow Drake to be able to succeed. Bringing in someone like Mac Hollins was smart. That's a veteran presence that's always going to go up, fight for the ball. He's a great presence in run blocking. That helps to take the Patriots, or the pressure, I should say, off of Drake if you want to use the running game. So a lot to like when it comes to the New England Patriots weapons on offense. Are they going to wow any defensive coordinator or instill fear into others in within the NFL? Probably not. I mean, there are a lot of wide receiver cores out there. You can probably think of about 10 offhand that would beat the New England Patriots in a head to head matchup. But at the same time, Drake needs savvy receivers. He needs smart receivers and receivers that are going to protect the football. He's got that in New England. So now it's a matter of building these guys into a relationship that I think can be beneficial for him long term.
Yeah, and by no means whatsoever, and no one should ever nor will ever do this. But, a certain quarterback in New England had a hell of a run. There were years where New England was fantastic, and there weren't the Randy Mosses of the entire world, of
Oh,
the
yeah.
world there in New England at the time. So certainly, it's just, are you where you need to be when I'm ready to release the ball? Can you
Right.
play on time to me playing on time? And sometimes that doesn't necessarily come down to, how much money you make, how high you were drafted, or, 5-star or whatever, what your RAS score was. Be where you need
Right.
to be. And, I think that's kind of what you're getting right now. And I think that's the case for a guy like Keishon Butte. I also like the fact that you certainly brought up Mac Hollins and, the run blocking because look, Mike Vrabel, there is not any position where Mike Vrabel does not let you get away with doing every aspect of it. So if you want to play
Right.
wide receiver for the Patriots, you actually may want to have a ball thrown to you. Well, no block, no rock.
Mhm.
Pittsburgh Steelers this week. Steelers, offense looked good week 1. One of the things people didn't talk about, what didn't look good for Pittsburgh week 1 was the defense. If you saw Justin Fields in week 2, you would not realize that was the same Justin Fields that played against Pittsburgh in week 1. So you kind of maybe get the common denominator, and then when you lose to Seattle at home in week 2. I'm not sure where this Steeler team is at, and, certainly a fan base, I think, that has just gotten spoiled over the years because they never miss the playoffs, even though they don't contribute when they get to the playoffs. But I think this is a game that can tell us a good amount about New England. Look, it's still the Pittsburgh Steelers. They still are a team that goes to the playoffs every year. But, this is an early benchmark, so to speak, for the Patriots. I feel this is a game they should probably win. So therefore it comes with a little pressure. And look, Mike Vrabel, there is not a game that he doesn't think his team should ever not win.
Oh, absolutely. And look, I think this is a great litmus test for the New England Patriots to see how far they've come. They slayed a big time giant over this week in beating the Miami Dolphins. I know Miami has its own problems right now and is really on the verge of implosion. So a lot of people on a national level may look at that and say, well, you beat a reeling Dolphins team and you needed a last second heroic to do it. But the New England Patriots hadn't won a game in Miami. That's a division opponent since 2019. Typically, that's a house of horrors for New England. Even when Tom Brady was at his best, the Patriots still had difficulty beating the Dolphins in Miami. There's something about, I don't know if it's the weather down there or whatever happens to the Patriots when they go there, but that was one of the problems. So for them to get that victory, that's huge for the Pats. Now they have their first win under Mike Vrabel, and they're going to get a great test this weekend against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Can they exploit, like you said, the defense, especially that run defense, which has been gashed the last couple of weeks that the Steelers have aligned? They've allowed 107 yards on the ground to Brees Hall in week one. He averaged 5.6 yards against that defense. And then Kenneth Walker for the Seattle Seahawks last week, 105 yards, 8.1 on average on the ground. If you're Ramondre Stevenson, if you're Travion Henderson, the new explosive running back that the Patriots drafted out of Ohio State, or if you're Antonio Gibson, who ran back a 90-yard touchdown for a kick return last week, you're looking at that and saying, I have the opportunity to really make things happen, take some pressure off of Drake May. So if the Patriots can exploit that run defense, I like their chances against the Steelers on Sunday.
Yeah, I think Travion Henderson, it's not been as exciting as it maybe was over the summer, but do not kid yourself with Travion Henderson. He is a guy that just can go the distance at any point, and it certainly could be by reception or through carry. Travion Henderson, in my opinion, would certainly be the guy. If I was Pittsburgh, I was kind of nervous about this week. He is Mike Debate. Patriots on SA Sports Illustrated.com. This is the BetCanada channel. If you enjoyed the video, throw a like on it, some comments, subscribe to the channel, and we will talk to you all again soon.